Actually, let me start out by telling you what we're going to do. I'm going to make another fill rig, something that I can attach to the end of the garden hose. Oh boy. Something that I can attach to the end of a garden hose and hang into an aquarium to refill it after draining it for water changes. I had one. It was 3/4 inch PVC. It was nice. It had a ball valve on the end and a garden hose fitting to hook up a garden hose. And one day, a couple weeks ago, I was finishing water changes and I was cleaning up and I was coiling the hoses out here in the front yard. And I set the fill rig on my bumper on the back of my truck. So you can guess what happened after that. It was all spray painted black and the top of my bumper's black and I just forgot. And the only thing I can figure is a couple days later, I drove away with it on top and I've been looking for it ever since. It ain't around. So we're going to build another one. Only this time we're going to build it out of 1/2 inch PVC because that's what I've got. And I've got all the fittings. And I'll show you a couple alternatives too for doing this. Here we go. All right, I think I got everything we need. Cup of coffee. PVC cutters. These are really old. I'm probably about due for another pair, but they still work. Tape measure. You may or may not need one of those. 1/2 inch PVC pipe. In this case, it's Schedule 40. It's the thicker wall. When I used to teach irrigation, we'd talk about that. Everybody buys Schedule 40 because it's thicker and you won't put a shovel through it as readily, but you only get 4 gallons a minute through it. Whereas the class 315, you get up to 6 gallons a minute. So when you're building an irrigation system, that matters. PVC solvent cement. In this case, I've got Christie's Red Hot Blue Glue. That's what I've always used because it's supposedly, allegedly displaces water at the same time. So when you use it in the trenches, when you're working on irrigation, it'll push the water away and you still get a good seal. What else? Fittings. Now, it's a pretty easy thing. This is the way it's going to look. Ball valve about there. This is a hose fitting. The male end of a garden hose can go in here, and a piece of pipe goes in here. Now, this is a 3/4 inch piece of pipe, 3/4 inch slip. I've got 1/2 inch pipe. We've got a problem. So if you're using Home Depot fittings, you're going to end up having to get what's called a reducer, reducing adapter, and it's going to have to reduce from 3/4 inch to 1/2 inch pipe. Well, I've got a 1/2 inch coupling here. And if you buy your couplings, if you buy your fittings at a real live irrigation supply house, you can use a coupling as a reducer. It doubles, it'll put 2 pieces of pipe together, or it'll act as a reducer. So it'll go inside this fitting and then the piece of pipe. Now you can't do that with Home Depot couplings or Lowe's couplings, big box store couplings. It doesn't work. So that's going to go about like this. Now there's an alternative. This is a regular garden hose ball valve, goes on the end of the garden hose, 1/4 turn, put a nozzle here, get rid of this ball valve, and put this ball valve on the end here, on the end of the garden hose. So you really don't need this ball valve then. And I'm debating whether or not I want to do this now, because I went out and bought this yesterday. I knew I had this, but I bought this anyway. There's a bunch of different kinds of these ball valves. This was way more expensive than it probably needed to be. Came with some extra hose washers. This part is going to be swivels here. So when you're holding this here, you could twist the whole thing around, or you can just swivel that part around, which is kind of nice. All right, so what's next? We got to cut some pipe. How long do you want to cut it? Well, since this is a refill, or for refilling the tank, the last one I had, it only went down into the tank about that far. So from the top where it rests on the top of the tank here to the bottom here was about 8 inches. Give or take. I don't have it to measure, but I'm thinking that was about right. And then how long do you want this piece of pipe? Well, same thing. I don't really need it too very long. It could be about 1 foot, so we could run it down. You don't want it longer than you need it, because I had a couple tanks there where this part here, where the water goes in, actually with the garden hose on the end, the whole thing had to sit on an angle because there's a table that it's sitting on. One way or the other, you got to get around stuff like that. So the alternatives All right. How long? And then we need a piece of pipe here. And this should be long enough to go over the width of the top of the tank. So a little extra room there. Now, inside these fittings, I don't know, yeah, you can see that line down there, right there. That's a stop. That's as far as a piece of pipe will go. So when you're measuring PVC, you can, well, this is too fat to fit in there, but it's about here. So it's about going to go into this fitting about 3/4 of an inch deep. Now it's easier to measure it in a bigger fitting because you can stick this down inside, but yeah, I can see it. And I'm guessing it's about 3/4 of an inch. So times 2. So that's 1.5 inches plus the length of the piece of pipe we want across the top here. So I'm going to say about 2.5 inches. I want that space in here about 2 inches. So we'll make this about 2, and I'm using about a lot, and that's okay. So I've measured this about 2.5 inches. I'm putting my thumb there. You can put a mark there if you want, whatever. I'm just putting my thumb there, and I'm going to run this right up to where my thumb is. And this is an older pair. I always give it kind of a little head start, and it's a ratchet. Works well. You do not need to prime this. You only need to prime pipe when you're putting it under pressure, for like mainline or something like that with irrigation. And then these will dry fit right into there, and they'll go in a lot further. All right, then I'm going to cut a piece of pipe. We'll say, what did I say? So 8 inches in from top to bottom. So let's measure that. So from back about here again. So top to bottom, yeah. So from about where that stop would be to the stop here. So I need another piece of pipe about 6 inches long. And remember, this isn't rocket science. And if you've never done anything like this, it's pretty easy and it's a lot of fun to do these little projects. And that's going to go here. And you know what? I think I'm going to use the garden hose fitting here instead of the ball valve. Now in the past too, these ball valves come in 2 different flavors, different sizes, but this one is called slip. It's a glued fitting inside. It's smooth, both sides. And the other one I had was thread. I had female pipe threads. So a threaded, this is pipe fitting or hose fitting, that won't work. But pipe threads would thread into it. So I needed something called a male adapter to thread into this that the glue pipe would go into. So we're just going to hold on to this for now. It'll get used somewhere down the line. And I want this probably about there. I think that's probably good. So this time, this goes here. We have to use this coupling to be able to adapt from this pipe, the size of this pipe to the size of this hose adapter here. So how long do I want that to be? Yeah, I'm looking at about a 9-inch piece of pipe. There we go. All right, there we are. So this goes into here. Let's move this up a little bit. This will go here, then this will go here, then ultimately this will thread onto there. We good? Let's take this apart. We'll glue all this together, and let's start here. We got to open this can. A pair of rusty old channel locks will do the trick. There we go. Little dauber on the end of this thing. Typically what we do is glue both sides, so we'll do that. I'll glue the inside of this fitting. And let's see, go around a couple times. And the outside of this coupling. Put them together. Always try and give it a twist if you can. It's not going anywhere. Wipe off the excess and hold on to it for a minute. Sometimes it's a chemical reaction. Done correctly, it'll literally chemically weld these 2 pieces together. So there's heat going on, and it can push the 2 pieces apart. It's really noticeable as the pieces of pipe get larger, pipe and fitting get larger. So you want to keep that in mind. All right, so now we can put these 2 together step by step. So I usually hold them both in one hand like this when I can. We'll go around this because I'm right here. And it also takes a little of the glue off the fitting, or I'm sorry, off the dauber. And then around the inside here, push and twist and hold, kind of 10, something like that. Let go, it's not moving. So we'll get the rag here. Now, like I said, I was going to build it with this in this in the middle here, but I decided we'll just go with this time. See how it works. Now we need one of these elbows. We'll glue the inside of the fitting here and the pipe first. Make sure we go all the way around the inside. Direction doesn't matter right now. It will on the next couple pieces. And give it a wipe. All right. Now this time, I'm going to glue these two together. When I was doing irrigation, I'd always buy the big cans because it's cheaper. But when I do this kind of stuff, I buy the small can because by the time I get to it again, it's already dried up. I always try and clean the lip off here so it seals tight. Doesn't always work real well. So it's just easier to buy smaller in this case. Push and hold. This is a little trick. May or may not help. A little piece of wood. All right, so now these go like this. So we're going to glue a piece of pipe into the fitting again. Pipe. It's messy. I knew a guy that did this for a living for a different kind of company. They required that they wore the white cotton gloves. Probably not a bad idea. Put that in, twist, and then put this on the board. Hold it down because that's going to help ensure the two pieces of pipe coming out are pointing in the same direction. Wipe that clean. And at this point, you may be saying, well, why aren't you gluing this to this, then in? I'll show you in a minute. All right, glue around the pipe, inside the fitting. Give it a push. Hold on to it for a minute. Wave at the neighbor. All right, all set. We can glue this on if we want. We can point it straight out. We can turn it. Now the last time I left it unglued so I could pretty much turn it around wherever I wanted. And I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to leave it just friction fit. And then we're going to take this rag, wipe the rim of the can as best we can. May or may not help. I'm pretty sure next time we'll have to come out here with the channel locks again just to get it open. I don't use the channel locks to tighten it down, just tight. Okie doke, let's see if this thing works. We'll go test it. All right, let's get this one off. I'm going to go with the other one. I think I like it better. And let's double check. There is a hose washer in there. I want water all over the house because we're going to go see if this thing works. We'll go check out the one in my office. And before we fill, I'm just going to let it run for a bit too. All right, so ball valve. So in this orientation, it's on. This is off. Perpendicular to the flow, off. Parallel to the flow, on. So that's all you got to remember. Let's go see. All right, well, the garden hose is attached. And we've got a little valve here we got to turn. And the water's on. And let's see if we see any leaks. No, nothing. Water's only going to leak to this point right now because this is off. So we turn that ball valve on. I like that because it's just a thumb, easy to operate with just a thumb. So we'll let that run for a minute. A little water in these pots while we're at it. I'm going to run. See, you can also throttle this just a little at a time. But I see this ball valve leaks right around this. Not good. We're going to go try the other one. Well, the other one leaked even worse, this one. It leaked from all around here, and there's a hose washer in there. So, let's do a retrofit. Let's try this off. Get my coffee out of the way. Open the glue. It's loose. PVC pipe cutters. Right about in the middle. Guess what we're going to do? Yeah, you've already figured it out, haven't you? We're going to put that ball valve in here. We're going to use that after all. So right now, I'm pretty glad I bought it. That shouldn't leak. We shall see. All right, so glue. Now, one thing you do not want to do is shove a bunch of glue in these things and glue the ball valve shut or open because that won't do any good. So typically what I do with these, once again, glue around the piece of pipe first. Get some of that excess glue off the dauber. And then you can set that down since we're on a piece of wood. hold the fitting upside down, run it around in there a little bit, look and see, make sure you covered it all, no drips running up in, obviously running up in. So we'll give that a little push up and in, hold for a minute, feels pretty snug, wipe off the excess. This stuff's supposed to be ready to use pretty quickly. And then we'll do the same thing here. Let's glue the pipe first, and then again, check, we got glue all over. I want the valve to the outside. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's easier to get to than it is on the inside. Be up against the fish tank right there. We don't want that. You can put it off to the side if you want. I like it in the back. So it's going to go hang over a tank like that with the garden hose going in. So we'll give that a few minutes to dry. And then we'll try it out again. All right, so I did this once before. I did it yesterday and forgot to, on the phone, fire up the receiver end. The mic worked. It sounded like just garbled water the whole time. So anyway, when I plugged this in, it was leaking at this end. And what I found was the hose washer in this end is super thin. Now let me move in and see if I can show you the difference. All right, let's see if we can see the difference in the hose washers. Yeah, can you see the difference here? How much thinner the one on the right is than the one on the left? That's the one on the right here, the thin one, is what came with that hose adapter. So if you buy one of these PVC hose adapters, check the hose washer. Make sure you get some good ones, some better, thicker ones. No matter how tight you tighten it, they still leak. So let's try this out. Hopefully it won't leak anymore. Oh, there it is. Let's put it under pressure. We'll shut this off. And it's got to finish draining no leaks. Let's go see it in action. Okay, so let's check this thing out, see how it works. Now remember, I left this elbow loose, so friction fit, so I can turn it if I want. And we'll put it in, and I will turn it pointing that way. Make sure we can see that. Oh yeah, and here we go. When you open these, open slowly, because it's been sitting under pressure, so we don't want to blast that all out at once. And open it all the way. I don't have it turned up really high at the hose fitting, or the hose bib, the faucet, whatever you like. Look, they think they're salmon. They love that. So I just fill this until it's done, and I can go around and fill all the tanks that way. I suppose another solution right here would have been to have an elbow, a 90-degree pointing out, and have the hose going in, or even a 45. But this is the way it is. So we're done. Turn it off. Remember, perpendicular to the flow of water is off, parallel to the flow of water is on. Now, when I pull this out, this thing's going to have water all in here. So you want to make sure that you drain it before you go over the hardwood floor with it. I think we got it. So anyway, that's what do you think of that? So it's pretty easy. Probably didn't take 15 minutes to make it, and then only another 10 minutes to retrofit it, and then another couple minutes to figure out how to add a lousy hose washer in there. But I don't think the whole thing costs more than $10. So it's an easy solution to make your own fill rig. There you go.